All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Curiosity Corner Live. We're going to wait just a minute for more friends at home to join us. But just as a reminder, the Great Lakes Science Center is still closed for the health, safety, and wellness of our guests, our staff, and our partners. But we are still bringing you science content right here at Curiosity Corner Live every day at 10:30 and at 3. So let's see. Good morning, Lindsay. Good morning, Katerina. Good morning, Great Lakes Science Center chat moderator. Don't want to neglect you. You're wonderful. Everybody having a good day so far? Pretty rainy, which I don't mind, so I'm good. Oh, let's see. Oh, we have Vera now, too. Hello, Vera. All right, so it has been enough time. So, like I said, welcome to our Great Lakes Science Center's daily episode of Curiosity Corner Live. My name is Joy. I am a guest engagement specialist at the Great Lakes Science Center, and I am coming to you live from my home. And together we are going to explore the science of sound effects and the Foley technique, which I will get to in a little bit. But in order to really dive into the science of sound effects, we need to think about the science of sound. So sound, there are tons of sounds all around us. I'm making sound right now by talking, and you can probably hear a bunch of different sounds where you are, whether it's someone's footsteps or something outside or someone else talking to you. Those are all very different sounds, but all sounds have a few things in common. So sounds require a force, sounds are a vibration, and sounds travel in waves. So I have here, this is a tuning fork. See, has anyone ever seen one of these before? Maybe in music class. So this is interesting. Okay, I'm back. We're good. So this one is a G. So I also happen to have a very high-tech ping pong ball on a string. Very, very high-tech. Now, if I were just to hold this ping pong ball on a string next to my tuning fork, it would just kind of sit there. Really exciting stuff. But if I were to apply a force to this tuning fork, that would start the vibrations, which will allow sound waves to travel. So here we go. I'm going to just smack this on the table to apply a force and, not tangle the string in my hand. Here we go. Woo! So notice my hands are not moving at all. By applying the force to this tuning fork, it started the vibrations, which are allowing the sound waves to push that ping pong ball and make it go crazy. So normally we can't see sound waves themselves, but we can see that they're strong enough to make this ping pong ball move. And in order to hear the sound waves and assign meaning to them, the sound goes through a little bit of a process. So sound waves travel through the air. So I'm talking, my sound waves are going into my computer's microphone. Then they are leaving your speakers, traveling through the air wherever you are. And then your ears are intercepting the sound, and our brains are assigning meaning to it. So the cool thing about sound is there's a couple of different ways to hear it. There's the physical hearing of the sound, but then there's also our brain's emotional memory. For example, there is an ice cream truck that drives around my neighborhood and has for years. So it has like a very distinct little jingle that it plays when it drives. So whenever I hear that song or anything like it, even without seeing the ice cream truck, my brain goes, obviously, that's the ice cream truck. That's kind of like how emotional memory works. Our brain assigns meanings and memories to certain sounds. And sound effects artists play off of that emotional memory in order to make you think you're hearing something that you may not necessarily be hearing. So one of the most famous sound effects techniques is the Foley technique. And the Foley technique was named after an artist named Jack Foley, who used to work at movie studios like way back many years ago. So what he would do is, because back in like the 1920s, movies were silent, that what he would do is he would watch the movie before it was released, And then he would add his own sound effects, and then there would be special technology that would layer his sound effects on top of the finished film. And that's actually a lot of what happens today. If you look at movie credits really closely, you'll usually see something that says Foley artist, and then it'll be someone's name. That's the person that watches the movie before it's released, adds their own effects, and then they're spliced together to create one cohesive picture. And the really cool thing about Foley artists is they are also sound scientists. Because if you recall, a while back, I did a video about optical illusions, about how we can use different things to trick our eyes and trick our brains. Sound effects artists can trick our ears into thinking that we're hearing something that we're really, really not. Now, Foley artists have to experiment with a lot of different materials because they are going to make sound effects that we may not be able to just go outside and make happen. So like say there's a scene in a movie where there's really bad weather and there needs to be thunder. I don't know about you. I cannot control weather. I have tried and failed many, many times. But say they need to make a thunder effect. So a Foley artist might look around, experiment with different materials, maybe grab a big piece of metal. I happen to have a cookie sheet or a big piece of poster board. And if you shake it, you can create rumbling without actually making thunder happen. Now, Foley artists need to experiment with different materials because if I had, a sheet of paper, that doesn't make a really good thunder rumbly noise. It's way too thin and it's very floppy and it doesn't really work very well. But nice sheet of metal makes a really good rumble. Or say you want to make different precipitation, like we'll go a really hard one. We'll go with freezing rain because you can't just turn your faucet on and expect it to sound like rain because it sounds like a faucet. But if you take some rice, and I have my cookie sheet still, and just sprinkle it on, kind of sounds like freezing rain. So this is what Foley artists do. They experiment with different objects to see what sort of sound effects they can create that mimics different sounds that you might hear. So that gives me an idea. I want to do some more experimenting with sound effects, and I want to see if I can bring you in on my little experiments. I have a couple of sound effects that I'm going to make slightly off camera so you can't see what I'm doing. And I want to see if you can figure out what I used to make those sound effects happen. So all the objects that I used, I found around my house. There's like no fancy tech involved. They are all things that you can probably find somewhere around you somewhere. So as soon as you think you know the answer, go ahead and put it in the chat. We're going to see if anyone can figure it out. Now, the first one I'm going to do is probably one of the most iconic Foley effects in film history. Hint, for those of you trivia buffs, I did not use what the actual Foley artist used because I did not have them in my house. So there you go. Now, the first effect is going to be horse hooves. So take a listen, see if you can figure out what I used and put your answers in the chat. I'm going to go again, slightly off frame so you cannot see what I'm doing. All right, here we go. Got my horse. You can walk, or if you want to gallop, what do you think I used? Anyone have any guesses? Got the walk. And a gallop. Let's see. Lindsay thinks I use my hands. That is a really good guess. I am using my hands. There is something in my hands, though. Katarina also thinks I'm clapping. Great guess. Shoes is another really good guess. So that shoes is a really good idea. I want to try that. So what I did, so famously, Foley artists use coconut halves to make horse hooves. Like I said, I don't have coconut halves in my house. Let's see, cans. That is actually pretty close. So I used 2 empty plastic containers. So here's the thing. If I were just to grab anything, I may not get the same clapping noise. But like horse hooves, these have a nice sturdy rim. And I can make the clapping noise like that. Just like that. So I have another one. I have here, sometimes there's scenes that have like really tall grass that make a specific noise that there's like a swishy noise that you get when you walk through taller grass. So I'm going to see, I do not have a giant meadow in my house. That'd be cool, but I don't. So I'm going to come on this side so I can be closer to the microphone because it's a little quiet. But here we go. See if you can figure out what I use for this one. My tall grass effect. Hello, Oliver. Thank you for joining us. We're seeing if we can guess what I use to make sound effects. Let's see. What do you think I used to make this one? Again, it is not a giant meadow. See, Lindsay says bags. It's a fantastic guess. Let's see. Katarina says plastic, also a fantastic guess. Because both of you are correct. Partially. So this is it. I did use a plastic grocery bag. But inside of my plastic bag, I have some shredded up newspaper. So in order to make my tall grass effect, I just swish the newspaper around in the bag. So I get the rustling noise of the newspaper, but I also get a little bit of the crinkle of that plastic bag to make that tall grass sound. Good job. Now, I have one more. Now, sometimes, especially in action movies, things fall down and make really loud thuds. But you have to be really careful with your loud thud, because if you drop the wrong thing, you can get weird echoes, and it might make things seem really not correct. Or like, for example, wooden boxes do not make metal echoey sounds. Now, we have one more. So let's see if you can figure out what I used to make my thud. Here we go. Pretty good thud, huh? Anyone have any guesses to what made that thud? I'll make the thud one more time. Here we go. There's that thud. So let's see. Lindsay thinks it's a ball. It's a good guess. Let's see. So yeah. So I will say, yeah, that a ball is a fit. Let's see, a drum. That's also a pretty good guess. Drums are a little bit more echoey, though. I mean, it depends on the type of drum. So, you ready to see the answer? What made that thud was this. This is a phone book. I just rolled it up and put a newspaper, and this is not a newspaper, this is a phone book with a rubber band on it. And so it made that thud, a nice good thud without rolling away or anything like that or making a weird echo. And the cool thing about this is you can also experiment with different ways to make the thud. So if I hold it just in front of me and drop it on a table, it makes one thud. But if I hold it way up high, it makes a different sound. So all this experimenting gives me an idea for your design challenge today. So your challenge is to make your own sound effects. So go around your house, see what sort of crazy things you can find. Like I said, I used a phone book and some containers and some newspaper. See what you can find to make your own sound effects. Maybe you can invent your own sounds, or you can find really cool ways to mimic sounds that you know. You can put on your own shows. You can watch your favorite movie on mute, add your own sound effects in. Whatever you want to do to see what sort of creativity you can create, what creativity you can show. Now, whatever you decide to try, we want to see what you come up with. So share your ideas with us. Take photos of what you used. Show us videos of your effects. Tag us on social media. Use our hashtag StayCuriousCLE. It is right behind me. And we are super excited to see what sort of really cool sound effects that you can come up with in your experiment. So make sure you come back right here after you're done creating and put everything away to Curiosity Corner Live at 3 o'clock. I'm going to show you one more sound effect that you can try using stuff that you can make at home. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek at this weekend's videos. So get creating, have fun, and until next time, stay curious.